Patchbay page gives you the ability to patch all of the inputs and outputs for the Venue system. This can include Pro Tools playback and record systems. It's all done at the Patchbay grid of the D-Show software. I'll start by going directly to the Patchbay page. From here you can select the input or output you want to route. I'll start with inputs. By selecting the Inputs tab, notice I have now converted the vertical axis of the grid to inputs. There are two tabs available here, Channels and Effects Returns. The horizontal grid gives you access to the hardware devices in your configuration. Stage 1 refers to hardware inputs 1 through 48 spread across 6 I/O cards at the stage rack, labeled A through F. Stage 2 would refer to inputs 49 through 96. FOH refers to inputs and outputs that are local to the front of house position. Notice you can access both digital and analog inputs here, as well as inputs dedicated to 2-track playback, talkback, and comm. The last tab is for routing either Pro Tools TDM or LE outputs directly to the inputs of Venue. And finally, if we click the Effects Return tab, note that the stage and front of house inputs, as well as Pro Tools outputs, are available to the Effects Return path. Next, let's move to the Outputs tab of the Patchbay page. Notice now that the vertical axis of the grid has changed to all of the different output categories for Venue. We'll start at Mains. Notice our only choices here are left, right, and mono, or center if you are in LCR mode. You can choose to send these outputs out of any of the buses available, meaning hardware outputs on the stage racks, front of house racks, or FireWire and TDM record buses. You can then do the same for PQ, matrix, auxiliary, and group outputs. A handy Patchbay feature on the D-Show control surface is the source button. This can give you a quick indication of the origin of a signal. If you press this button, the 6-character display switches modes and now tells you the stage or front of house source connection for the given channel. This display indicates stage rack 1, channel 17. Next, let's move to the Directs tab. Here we can assign a discrete output for every channel, effects return, and output to any stage, front of house output, or Pro Tools bus. In addition, we can easily choose a pickoff point for the direct output by selecting the drop-down menu here. For an input channel, the choices are top of channel, insert return, or post fader. Our last tab is the Inserts tab. This tab deals only with the TRS send and return I/O at the local front of house rack. This is where we interface both digital and analog outboard gear as an insert on any input or output stage of the D-Show. Remember, when we choose channels, effects returns, or outputs on the vertical axis of the grid, this is representing both the send and return path of the associated input channel or output. The D-Show Patchbay can make even the most complex show a snap to patch. This will let you get your show up and running very quickly.